Hello friends, Jason here for TheChartGuys. It's been several days of having the flu. Me and my family pretty much over it. Still feeling a little bit sketchy, but we're going to give it a shot. I love doing these videos and I know you guys like to watch them and I do appreciate that. So let's take a look at the 5G ETF and we'll look at our regular tickers. The 5G ETF it's important to look at because it represents pretty much an average of what everything else is doing in this sector. Look at the ETF holdings itself, look at the weighting, and you get an idea of what the sector is doing based on those underlying companies' performance. And what I'm seeing on the daily chart, in fact, we're going to go step back and look at the weekly chart. What's important here is this nice solid weekly uptrend locking in weekly higher lows and higher highs. So we've just done that over the last week. We set this low at 25.30. Weekly consolidation should be over, and now we should be looking for a weekly lower high or a higher high, something around 27.43. So the two scenarios are we keep going and we go higher and maintain this weekly trend that we've been doing for a while, or we see a lower high underneath that and look for some more weekly consolidation in the form of perhaps an equilibrium. We don't know. We'll talk about it when we get there. But right now, all eyes on 27.43. Can we get a weekly higher high over top of that level? On the daily time frame, things are looking pretty interesting as well. Here we can see that we bounced off of that 25.30, established a new support. We had an indecision day. Market was happy, moved to the upside, another gap up, and we're looking for upside continuation on this candlestick. Some people would look at this and say it is a hanging man. The other way to look at that is that you have a momentum hammer where you have the open, you see a push down by the bears, and the bulls say absolutely no way and take over completely, push the price up. However, we see that we've got ourselves a little wick toward the end of the day. So we'll see what action this represents. How accurate are we when we look at the 5-minute time frame? That is something I always enjoy trying to figure out, because being able to do quick analysis, looking at larger time frames and getting an idea of what should be happening on the sub time frames can give you a little bit of an edge when you're doing rapid analysis. So let's see how good I was on this one. Anyway, daily time frame, potential momentum hammer here with a little bit of an upper wick. What's key is that we are over top of our EMA 26 and 12. What I'm going to expect is a little bit of daily consolidation. I'd like to see us hold these two levels as support. So maybe we have a day where we just don't see a lot of range established, but we have good support and giving bulls a new base of something to work with, maybe off the hourly or 4-hour time frame. Any way you look at it, I think we're on the way up to test that 27.43 weekly important level. On the 4-hour time frame, here we can see that we've been marching up pretty well. Haven't established a 4-hour higher low after our 25.16 level, so that will need to happen at some point. But on the hourly time frame, we can see that we have taken these periods to consolidate, and as long as the hourly bulls do this, they're going to allow the RSI to cool off a little bit at a time and giving the bulls the ability to keep moving forward. We can see that we are a little extended now, 71.25, and looking at the daily time frame, that shouldn't be too much of a surprise given the gap ups and the green days that we have seen. So we are going to need some consolidation, and it can come in the form of the hourly time frame. And if it does, that will give us that nice little range, and anything over top of what is our low here, 26.13, will be okay and still be an hourly higher low. If we look at the daily time frame, that is going to give us quite a bit of range here, still being within reasonably close proximity to those EMA levels. So that's what I would look for. I would look for a hourly higher low over 26.13 as we head into tomorrow and see if we can't get some nice upside continuation on that. But let's go check out that 5-minute time frame and see how we looked in our analysis. So there's that sell-off. There's bulls buying the dip and pushing the price up, and a little bit of weakness towards the end of the day. So not too far off. I thought it would be more of an aggressive push, but nice to see that sustained strength on the 5G sector ETF. Okay, let's go take a look at AVGO. AVGO on the weekly time frame, somewhat similar setup. We did lose weekly support, but we have established a new weekly higher low, and we're seeing a little bit of volatility here. So this is not as securely strong as I would like to see, but as long as we keep maintaining support over 303.62 and setting weekly higher lows, it's okay. What we're eventually going to need to do is set a new higher high over 331.58, and on the daily time frame, we can see that we have made a couple of big gap ups in order to try and get there. I don't like seeing three dojis in a row. I would expect to see, at the very least, a daily high or low over 303.62 to confirm a better and more concrete form of support. If we look to the 4-hour time frame, we're going to see not a lot has been established. We've gapped too much, and there's too many areas where we have a real lack of committed support. And in fact, I would say only 316.63 is a level that I would play on right now, because if we lost 316.63, there is a definitive lack of established support until we're back down to 311.42s, and that has me a little bit concerned for a long position. So once the bulls establish themselves a little bit more of a support up here, and they may do that in conjunction with the overall market, as I should say the overall 5G market, as it tries to establish a daily support level against those EMAs. In AVGO, it may reflect itself as finding a nice double bottom or something else definitive that we can use for our base of support before we continue to the upside here. But bulls are in control currently. Indecision, still heading up toward that high 331.58. MRVL, similar situation. Let's go look at the weekly time frame, and all of these guys should be in the relatively similar situation because, again, all of these collectively become part of that 5G ETF. So here is our weekly high or low. Let's just turn our pivots on. It'll be easier to see. Unfortunately, it didn't give us our level that we wanted. 23.91 is our last weekly high or low, and it looks like we're going to try to get a new higher high over 28.86, or perhaps a weekly lower high under that level. Either way, bulls have that their eyes on that prize, and we'll be heading up in that direction. One thing to note, EMA 26 has not been beaten yet, and it has acted as a resistance, so we would like to see bulls get over that in a pretty good way. And once we get ourselves a nice EMA 1226 bull cross, that will have me feeling a little bit better for upside continuation here. If we go to the 4-hour time frame, nice 4-hour stair step pattern up. Our last 4-hour high or low was 24.55, and it looks like we are trying to establish a hourly consolidation. Our last hourly support 25.02, so anything over that level will be good for the bulls, and we'll look tomorrow to see if we can't get ourselves a quick flush, and the ideal entry would be as close to that as possible, looking for that support to come in on the 1 and 2 minute time frame, and then placing your bets, and that's what they are bets, as close to 25 psychological as possible. Let's go check out INSG. So INSG on the weekly time frame, a little bit different. Big burst of strength, a couple of really red weeks, and what was key is we came down to test the low of that weekly consolidation, 646, managed to hold above it, so bulls are holding on to that little faint bit of hope, and on the weekly time frame so far, doing okay. On the daily time frame, struggling to get over EMA 26, was area of resistance and rejection, the confluence of EMA 26 and 12 on the daily time frame from the 4th. And today we see the bears trying to attack. Bulls buying most of the dip here, but still struggling with this EMA 12 and 26 confluence. So the ideal situation tomorrow for INSG would be to open in this area, backtest this level, and see if we can't find daily support before moving on. We do have daily resistance at 863, and then above that, we have our high at 975. Bear with me here. So here's that strength into the end of the day, and what we would like to see, let's go back to that daily time frame and try to set a little bit of a marker for ourselves. So we'll turn our magnets off and say our EMA is 773, right about there. Go to our 5-minute time frame. This is what we would like to see. We would either want to open below that EMA, hit it a few times like we saw here, maybe double top, triple top, I'm not sure, and then break it conclusively in market hours and then set a nice trend above that. Alternatively, what we could see would be an open above, back test, and then trend change. We want to see this confirm as a support or resistance and then have it act in our favor being in toward a long position. SWKS on the daily or the weekly time frame, a little bit choppier. So this is more of an aggressive move up. We've lost weekly higher lows, so now what we're going to expect to see is a weekly lower high underneath 128.48. If we get a lower high under 128.48, what that's going to do is suggest that there is some sort of, and I hesitate to call this a head and shoulders pattern, but really what it is going to be a high a higher high, and then a lower high, which in effect is your head and shoulders. And then we're going to look for a loss of the key support, and then possibly be looking for monthly consolidation, because that hasn't happened for a long time. And if we lose this low, it means we can go all the way down to, unfortunately, 71.51. So a pretty substantial drop if we don't manage to maintain this key area of support. So far, bulls are still heading in the upside direction. And it looks like we've got a nice key level for us. 121.07 is going to be the daily level to beat. If bulls can get over that level, they're going to change the daily trend in their favor. And it is going to give us a nice little area with somewhat minimal resistance all the way to 128.48. That should, in theory, if we see that good push and we get over top of 128.48, negate that potential head and shoulders type pattern that we looked at on the weekly time frame. So this is so far my favorite setup on the daily time frame. I'd like to see us backtest and hold yesterday's low, because this is an indecision candlestick. After indecision candlestick, I want to see a base of support established, and then I want bulls to take out 121.07. If we can take out 121.07, we're going to be looking good for at least a high test at 128.48. And the last guy, ADI on the weekly time frame. More similar pattern. However, we still have lost that key upward climb on the daily time frame, and likely it's going to make more sense on the daily. But here's our weekly low, consistently setting these higher lows. Big run today, or I should say this week, and there it is. A couple of key gaps just due to the relative strength of the market. Indecision candlestick. We see a big move to the upside, and we have minimal resistance here in our way. The only thing working against us on ADI is going to be our RSIs. 65.58 on the 4-hour time frame. Minimal support established on the way up here, and that is going to be a concern. And our hourly RSI is 79.85, and we have not really taken any time to establish support. So all I can look at is the low of this first run, and the low of that day, 114.11. So what we'd like to see is going to be hourly consolidation, the commitment of strength. Hopefully that would also give us a nice 4-hour higher low if it takes long enough to do that hourly consolidation, and give us a better base of support. If we can do that, and bulls can maintain a strong presence, and they do that by not allowing the bears to drive the price down aggressively during these periods of consolidation, we are going to be in good shape for upside continuation and a test of a new high over 122.20. Should they fail to do that, then we're going to be looking for a daily trend change, and we'll come back down to test, very likely come down to test 109.20 on the weekly time frame. All right, that's it. I hope you enjoy the video. I do enjoy making these, and I assure you over the next couple of days I'll feel better, and we'll have a little bit more energy in the video. Take care, guys. Safe trades.